Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown and AEW Rampage review. Smackdown tonight was from the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans, Louisiana, while Rampage was taped from the MVP Arena in Albany, in upstate New York. And Smackdown tonight, the show fucking sucked. Show was absolutely abysmal. Nothing made sense on the show tonight. So what we get? We had the finals of the United States Championship Invitational, Santos Escobar versus Rey Mysterio. The winner of the match will get to face Austin Theory for the United States Championship. This was face versus face. It did not make any sense whatsoever, and it comes to the point where Ellie Knight should have won. And then we had Ellie Knight, speaking of him, he ended up taking on Ashante the Adonis of Hit Row. We had Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair. You know, the whole typical Vince McMahon, oh, can they coexist? They ended up taking on Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green, the Women's Tag Team Champions. We had Karrion Kross versus Karl Anderson. And in the main event, we had Jey Uso versus Grayson Waller. Yeah, sounded like a very good Smackdown tonight, right? Awful show. Awful, awful, awful. But if you guys haven't checked out my previous video that I uploaded earlier today, did a movie review of Haunted Mansion, so definitely check out my review of that if you guys haven't seen it. But it was a fun film. Really enjoyed it. So definitely give it a watch. But anyways, let's jump right into the review. Smackdown opened up tonight with Jey Uso. Jey Uso was in the ring. He got on the mic. He kept saying, "Main event Jey is in your city." So then he got interrupted by Roman Reigns, the tribal chief. Roman Reigns made his way out along with Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa. And I don't know if you can hear that. It's actually raining right now while I'm doing this. So if you hear that, sorry about it. But we had the fans end up chanting Uso. Roman then got on the mic and he did his whole shtick where he's like, "New Orleans, acknowledge me." So Roman then told the crowd that they like the Usos because of him. Roman ended up telling Jey that he probably forgot that when the tribal chief is scheduled to appear, and that he will open up his show. The tribal chief will open up his show. So Roman then ended up asking Jey why they call him the right-hand man. He ended up saying because he made him that. Roman made Jey that. So he was like, why they call him main event Jey Uso? Because Roman made Jey that. He ended up saying, and now Jey is trying to open up his show, trying to be the head of the table. So Roman ended up saying that all Jey has ever wanted for the last 3 years was to be the tribal chief. So Jey then ended up telling Roman that he never wanted any of that. He ended up saying all he did for Roman was watch his back, which is what family does. So Jey then ended up telling Roman that he has been his right-hand man for 3 years, and no questions asked, because he is his tribal chief, and he believed in Roman. Jey then also said that he believed that Roman can lead the company and the family. He then told Roman that he broke that family, and now he has to do what he has to do. Jey then ended up telling Roman that he broke the family, the bloodline, and also Jimmy, and it's all Roman's fault. To which Roman then ended up saying to Jey, "Oh, that's all your fault. Your jealousy brought that on." So Roman then ended up asking Jey, when Jimmy got hurt, what did he do? What did Jey do? He ended up saying that he asked for a championship match because he is selfish. Roman ended up saying that the only reason Jey became the right-hand man was because of Jimmy being hurt. He wanted to say if Jimmy wasn't hurt, Jey wouldn't even have had a chance. So Roman then ended up telling Jey that Jey will be all alone and that he screwed his brother. Roman ended up saying that Jimmy loves and respects him more than he does Jey. And when he beats Jey, he tells Jey that he is done and that he will not be part of the legacy and the history. So Roman ended up saying if Jey somehow wins, he was hypothetically speaking, he ended up saying that means Jey takes the championship and everything from him. He ended up saying that he would not be the tribal chief, but he will always be Roman Reigns. And he will be able to do what he wants to do. He ended up saying that Jey has nothing. And the fact that Jey still wants this makes no sense. He ended up telling Jey that Jey won't beat him. And he can't beat him. So the fans were chanting Uso. Jey ended up telling Roman that he already beat him. Jey ended up saying that he pinned Roman and that he was the only one to do it. Jey then put his arm around Roman. He ended up telling Roman, I'll see you at SummerSlam and I will beat you again. So Jey dropped the mic, left the ring, and pretty much that was basically that. But overall, good segment here from Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. You know, the Bloodline storyline is the only storyline that's holding up WWE, you know, with it being a good storyline, because once the Bloodline story ends, WWE has nothing. They'll be creatively bankrupt once the Bloodline story comes to a conclusion. It's the only storyline that WWE has going. So then SmackDown came back from the commercial. Jey Uso was walking backstage. Grayson Waller ended up stopping Jey. Waller ended up telling Jey that he loves his passion and that it gave him an idea. He ended up saying, win or lose at SummerSlam, and between him and Jey will probably lose. And he ended up saying after that, Jey can give him the Grayson Waller rub, and he can be on his show. And Grayson Waller was like, oh, it will be the Grayson Waller effect with Little Jey. So Grayson ended up laughing. Jey ended up knocking Grayson Waller down with a right hand. And pretty much that was basically that. You know, Grayson Waller thinks Jey Uso won't have a chance at Roman at SummerSlam. And then we had the first match of the night. This was the United States Championship Invitational. And it was Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar. Clearly, this made no sense. This is face versus face. LWO member versus LWO member. So, the match got underway, which this was a okay match here. So both Mysterio and Santos end up shaking hands. Both guys end up blocking up. Santos end up going for a roll-up on Rey, and Rey end up kicking out. Escobar then end up twisting Rey's left leg, and then the camera end up going up. And we saw Austin Theory watching the match from the skybox. And of course, he had popcorn in hand, and he was the only one there. He was the only one sitting in the skybox. Nobody else. So Escobar then delivered a kick to Rey's leg, but Rey ended up delivering a slap to Escobar's face. Escobar ended up delivering a slap to Rey of his own, slap to Rey's face. Escobar ended up going to the ropes. Rey tripped Escobar on the second rope. Rey ended up thinking of going for the 619, but Escobar rolled to the outside of the ring. Rey then jumped over the top rope, and he landed onto Escobar. And then SmackDown went to commercial. Then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw Rey end up hitting the senton off the top rope, followed by a crossbody off the second rope to Escobar. Rey ended up going for the cover, and Escobar ended up kicking out. Rey then went to the ropes, but Escobar delivered a crossbody to Rey. Escobar was on the ring apron. He ended up kicking Rey in the face. He then climbed to the top rope and landed another crossbody to Rey. Escobar ended up going for the cover, and Rey ended up kicking out. Escobar then ended up grabbing Rey as Rey ended up rolling Escobar up, but Escobar kicked out. Rey went to the ropes, but Escobar delivered a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker to Rey. He went for the cover. Rey kicked out. The fans were chanting, "This is awesome," which you could tell that was piped in. So Escobar ended up placing Rey on the second rope. He ended up getting Rey on his shoulders, but Rey ended up flipping Escobar over the top rope to the outside. Escobar landed on his feet, and Rey was still on Escobar's shoulders. Rey ended up dropping Escobar face first into the apron. Rey got back into the ring, and he ended up going for a baseball slide. Escobar moved out of the way. Escobar got back in the ring, and he ended up landing a suicide dive onto Rey, which Rey went back, and that looked very brutal. And SmackDown went to commercial. And then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, Rey was shown down in the corner. We had Jessica Karl, who was the referee of the match, and a doctor. They were examining Rey, and we saw the replay of Escobar's suicide dive on the outside, and Rey fell to the floor. Just watching that in slow motion on the replay, it looked nasty and brutal on Rey. Looked like maybe Rey got concussed, but if this is a work or not, I really do hope that Rey will be okay from this. But Jessica Karl ended up calling the match off, and the announcement was made that Santos Escobar ended up winning the match, and Santos Escobar will be facing Austin Theory for the United States Championship. So post-match, Rey got up after the match, and Rey and Escobar ended up hugging as they left the ring. So Austin Theory was shown in the skybox, and he raised the United States Championship looking down at Santos Escobar. So pretty much that was basically that. But overall, it was an okay match. Just very brutal how the way, Rey went back like that after Santos delivered that suicide dive to him. But should be a good match between Escobar and Austin Theory. But from seeing what we saw here, where Rey, was down the corner, possibly have gotten concussed from that suicide dive from Santos Escobar, we should have had Ellie Knight win it. We should have had Ellie Knight advance here and face Santos Escobar. But look what they got. And then we went backstage, and we saw Kayla Braxton. Kayla Braxton was with Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair ended up telling Kayla Braxton that the numbers don't favor anyone in a triple threat match. So in came the Women's Tag Team Champions, Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. Chelsea Green ended up saying that she is not a fan of numbers, but there is the number 11. To which Sonya Deville ended up saying that her and Green have been champions for 11 days. Chelsea Green ended up saying that if it's not about Bianca, it's about Charlotte. And if it's not about Charlotte, it's about Bianca. So Bianca ended up telling Green to stop the disrespect. So, of course, in came Charlotte. Charlotte ended up calling Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville bullies. And she ended up telling Bianca that she can't have her outnumbered and needs her 100% for SummerSlam. So Charlotte ended up asking Bianca if she wants to team together. Bianca then refused, and Charlotte ended up saying this makes her want to do it even more, and that she will speak with Adam Pearce. So pretty much that was basically that. That led to the match later on. Charlotte Flair and Bianca versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville, non-title. The whole typical Vince McMahon, oh, can Charlotte and Bianca coexist? And then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we had Hit Row in the ring. We had Top Dollar, B-Fab, and Ashante the Adonis. And they were about to do a rap. And Ellie Knight's music ended up hitting. Ellie Knight got a humongous pop from the crowd there in New Orleans. They were all chanting, yeah! So Ellie Knight got on the mic. He was like, let me talk to ya. The fans were chanting his name. And what was really funny was he said to Top Dollar, he didn't know Will Smith was in the game. But he didn't know Uncle Phil became a rapper. To which Top Dollar ended up getting pissed. So he ended up saying, who's hotter than Top Dollar? Well, a lotta. Ellie Knight then ended up telling the way B-Fab is looking at him. And that B-Fab has a tingle in her loins. And that she is horny. You know what I'm saying? But business before pleasure. And the business is with Ashante. Knight ended up saying that a lot of people claim to be undeniable and inevitable. But he lives it. He ended up saying, and he can be the next to get dropped on his head by the megastar. With everybody saying, L.A. Knight, yeah! So then we had the match, Ellie Knight versus Ashante the Adonis. This was a squash match. I'm like, this is the best that you got for Ellie Knight here? Going up against Ashante the Adonis in a squash match. So the match got underway. Ashante delivered some right hands to Knight. He ended up distracting the ref. Top Dollar delivered a cheap shot to Knight. Ashante ended up going for the cover. Knight ended up kicking out. So Ashante ended up going for a splash in the corner, but Knight moved out of the way. Knight then hit Ashante with a neck breaker. Top Dollar got on the ring apron as B-Fab distracted the ref. Ellie Knight ended up knocking Top Dollar down with a right hand. Knight then delivered a power slam onto Ashante. And then he ended up hitting Ashante with an elbow, which was followed up by the BFT because everybody was going, L.A. Knight, yeah. And that's when he dropped the BFT. So Knight ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Ellie Knight ended up winning the match. So I'm like, are you serious? This is the best that you got for Ellie Knight. The guy is so over with the crowd. Everyone wants to see this guy. And yet, this is what they give him. They give him Ashante the Adonis. And don't get me wrong, Ashante is good in the ring. But for Ellie Knight, for them to book Ellie Knight against Ashante, this is the best that you could give Ellie Knight? Are you serious? In a squash match. Yeah, some push for Ellie Knight. So then we had Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce was backstage. He ended up telling Jey that Grayson Waller is asking for a match against him. Jey then ended up telling Adam Pearce that Waller has been running his mouth. So Jey then accepted the challenge. So that was that. So we got Jey Uso versus Grayson Waller, which was the main event. And then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley. They were sitting backstage. Lashley ended up calling the Profits stars, and that they should be treated like stars and should dress like stars. So Dawkins ended up looking around. Lashley then ended up telling Dawkins that he has nothing against the Sweats, but then he has a little something more fitting. So we saw a lady end up coming in with a rack, and on the rack were new suits. Bobby Lashley ended up telling the Profits that the new suits are on him. So Lashley and the Profits end up shaking hands, and pretty much that was that. But I am really interested in where this is going. So we'll see where this goes. Probably Bobby Lashley is setting up for a new Hurt Business. Maybe. I'm interested. And then we had Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. Non-title match this was. Match was just meh, in my opinion. Match got on the way. Bianca and Chelsea ended up starting off the match. Bianca locked in a headlock on Chelsea. Chelsea ended up throwing Bianca to the ropes, but Bianca delivered a shoulder tackle to Chelsea. Bianca then went to the ropes. Charlotte ended up taking herself in. Bianca looked all confused as to why Charlotte ended up taking herself in. So Charlotte delivered a snapmare onto Chelsea. Charlotte then locked in a headlock on Chelsea, and then Bianca tagged in. Chelsea ended up stomping onto Bianca's foot, but Bianca delivered a body slam to Chelsea. Sonya Deville ended up tagging in. Bianca then delivered a body slam to Sonya. Bianca then delivered a moonsault to Sonya. She ended up going for the cover, and Sonya ended up kicking out. Bianca then got Sonya in the corner. She ended up hitting Sonya with some right hands. Chelsea got into the ring, and Bianca ended up throwing Chelsea to the outside. Bianca turned around, and Sonya delivered a kick to Bianca's face. Sonya ended up going for the cover, and Bianca kicked out. So then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Sonya had Bianca in a headlock, but Bianca ended up getting to Sonya. Sonya then delivered a big kick to Bianca, and Chelsea ended up taking back in. So both Chelsea and Sonya tried to double team Bianca, but Bianca delivered some elbows and some kicks to the both of them. So we had Bianca end up going for the tech to Charlotte, but they end up stopping Bianca. So Chelsea and Sonya end up going for a double suplex. Bianca reversed that, and she delivered a suplex to both Chelsea and Sonya. Charlotte then tagged into the match. Charlotte then delivered a crossbody off the top rope to both Chelsea and Sonya. Charlotte then delivered some chops to Chelsea, which was followed by a fallaway slam. Charlotte then ended up hitting Chelsea with a clothesline. She ended up going for the cover, and Chelsea kicked out. So, at the end of the match, we had Charlotte end up throwing Sonya to the outside, and Charlotte tagged herself in. Chelsea got into the ring. Charlotte ended up hitting Chelsea with a big boot. Charlotte and Bianca started arguing about the tag. So Charlotte ended up telling Bianca to leave the ring. Charlotte then ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair ended up winning the match. So the champions lose. They held the title for 11 days, and all of a sudden, lose. Now, this is typical WWE with Vince McMahon booking the show, having champions lose. But overall, very meh match this was. And then we went backstage. And we saw Bayley and Io Sky. Io ended up asking Bayley why Bayley left her last week. Bayley ended up telling Io that she didn't leave her, and she went to go get the valet. She ended up saying that Shotzi got to her stuff. So Bayley opened up her bag, and there was a sign by Shotzi, and it said, "Bayley, see you soon." And in came Asuka. Asuka ended up saying that she will face two of the best ever at SummerSlam. Io then ended up speaking in Japanese. She ended up telling Asuka that she respects her, but she will be leaving SummerSlam as the WWE Women's Champion. And then Io ended up raising the briefcase, and that was that. But all, setting up for Bayley versus Shotzi. And as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Michael Cole ended up announcing on commentary that a SummerSlam Battle Royal is taking place at SummerSlam, sponsored by Slim Jim. And this Battle Royal is going to feature both Raw and SmackDown superstars. And without a doubt, that's going to be taking place on the kickoff show, the pre-show, and the winner gets nothing. They even say that the winner will get an opportunity at a title. Nothing. And then we saw Adam Pearce backstage. Adam Pearce was talking on the phone about the SummerSlam Battle Royal, and in came Ellie Knight. Ellie Knight ended up telling Adam Pearce that after last week's debacle, he was looking at the biggest misstep by not having the biggest rising star in WWE history at SummerSlam. Ellie Knight ended up saying that if he wants the SummerSlam Battle Royal to mean something, he should have him in it. Pearce should have Ellie Knight in it. And then in came the Brawling Brutes, Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch. Sheamus ended up telling Adam Pearce to tell Knight that at the SummerSlam Battle Royal, he will have to fight like his life depends on it. Because they only produce bangers after bangers after bangers after bangers. So Ellie Knight ended up telling Sheamus that he will get banged on the head. And Adam Pearce ended up announcing both Knight and Sheamus will be in the SummerSlam Battle Royal. And that they will go one-on-one next week on SmackDown. So there you go. Next week we're going to have Ellie Knight versus Sheamus. And then we saw Kathy Kelly. Kathy Kelly was backstage with Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller ended up telling Kathy Kelly that he did nothing and did not deserve to get hit with a cheap shot from Jey. He ended up saying tonight Jey will pay for that. He ended up telling Kathy Kelly that Jey is stressed with Roman Reigns and the biggest match of his career at SummerSlam, and that Jey is not ready for him. Jey's not ready for Grayson Waller. So that was that. And as SmackDown came back from the commercial, the OC were backstage. Karl Anderson ended up telling them that the match against Karrion Kross tonight is personal, and that he needs them to let him do this on his own. So he didn't want Gallows or Mia Yim or Styles out there. So they all ended up too sweeting each other as Karl Anderson ended up walking out to the ring. So then we had the match. Karl Anderson versus Karrion Kross. Of course, Karrion Kross accompanied by Scarlett. And this was a squash match. Anderson delivered some right hands and some chops to Kross. So Anderson delivered an uppercut to Kross, which was followed up by more chops to Kross's chest. Anderson climbed the second rope. He ended up landing a neck breaker to Kross. So he ended up going for the cover. Kross kicked out. We had Anderson delivered some right hands to Kross in the corner. The referee had to break that up. Scarlett then grabbed Karl Anderson's leg, which distracted him, which led Kross to kick Anderson's right leg. Kross then delivered some forearms and some right hands to Anderson. So at the end of the match, Kross ended up hitting the final prayer to Anderson as he was yelling out at Styles. So Kross ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Karrion Kross ended up winning the match. Post-match, Kross ended up getting Anderson in the Kross jacket, and out came Gallows and Mia Yim and Styles. Kross then left the ring. He ended up staring at Styles, and he walked to the back. So pretty much that was basically that. Overall, squash match this was. Main event. Jey Uso versus Grayson Waller. Not a bad match this was, but still did not make any sense as to why Jey Uso is facing Grayson Waller. You know, what are they fighting over? Oh, because Grayson Waller ended up saying, oh, you have no chance against Roman at SummerSlam, and you will lose. So this is what they're feuding about. So the match got on the way. We had Grayson Waller locking a headlock on Jey. Jey ended up throwing Waller to the ropes. Waller then ended up hitting Jey with a shoulder tackle. Waller went to the ropes. Jey ended up hitting Waller with a flying forearm. He walked towards Waller. Waller then delivered a drop kick to Jey. Waller then grabbed Jey. Jey ended up hitting Waller with a headbutt, which was followed up by a body slam. Jey then stomped onto Waller's face. So Jey then delivered some right hands. Waller then delivered a knee to Jey's body. Waller then ended up grabbing Jey, and Jey delivered a kick to the side of Waller's head. And then Roman's music ended up hitting. Out came the Tribal Chief, Paul Heyman, and Solo Sikoa. So Jey got distracted by Roman Reigns and Heyman and Sikoa coming out there, and that gave a chance for Waller to hit Jey with a kick to his face. And then SmackDown came back, and then SmackDown went to commercial. Then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, Roman was shown sitting on a chair ringside, next to Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa. So Jey then delivered a jawbreaker to Waller. Jey then ended up placing Waller on the top rope. Jey got on the second rope, but Waller knocked Jey down. Waller then walked on the second rope. He ended up hitting Jey with an elbow. He ended up going for the cover, and Jey ended up kicking out. So Waller later on, he ended up taking off his elbow pad, and he threw it just like The Rock. So he ended up running to the ropes, and he tried to do the people's elbow to Jey, but Jey moved out of the way. Jey then delivered the Samoan drop to Waller. Jey then super kicked Waller, and then he stared down Roman Reigns. Jey then ended up hitting Waller with a spear, and he looked at Roman. Roman was smirking at Jey. Jey climbed to the top rope, and he went for the Uso splash on Waller. Jey ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Jey Uso ended up winning the match. Post-match, Sikoa ended up hitting Jey from behind. He began to stomp on Jey. Sikoa then lifted Jey up. He ended up going for the Samoan spike. Jey ended up ducking that, and he ended up hitting Sikoa with a super kick. Roman got into the ring, and he ended up going for a spear. Jey ended up ducking, and Jey ended up hitting Roman with a spear of his own, and the crowd went crazy when Jey hit that spear. Jey then climbed to the top rope, but Sikoa pushed him off the top. Sikoa then ended up grabbing Jey. He ended up hitting Jey with the rock bottom. Roman got to his feet. Roman then ended up hitting Jey with a spear, as Sikoa ended up hitting Jey with the Samoan spike. So he hit the spear, Roman, and then Sikoa hit the Samoan spike at the same time to Jey. So Roman and Sikoa ended up staring at Jey. Roman ended up yelling at Jey, and he ended up telling him that he can't have the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. So the fans were chanting, "You got pinned," to Roman. So Sikoa then picked Jey up, and once more, Roman hit Jey with the spear, and Sikoa then delivered the Samoan spike to Jey. as SmackDown went off the air. But overall, the end here was good, and Jey Uso versus Grayson Waller, not a bad match. But overall, SmackDown was just absolutely awful tonight. Terrible show. No hype going into SummerSlam still. What a terrible build to SummerSlam this has been. There's no excitement going into SummerSlam. None. Zero. Moving on. Moving on to AEW Rampage. Rampage was just a very meh show tonight. We had a tag team battle royal where the winners will get to face MJF and Adam Cole tomorrow night on AEW Collision. We had Komander versus Kip Sabian. We had the Kingdom. This was Mike Bennett and Mike Taven. They ended up taking on Hayden Backlund and Myung Jae Lee. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And the main event, we had Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose. Overall, just a very meh Rampage it was tonight. And it was just a meh night for wrestling from both SmackDown and Rampage. But Rampage opened up with the Tag Team Battle Royal, where both members of each team must be eliminated to be out of the match. The winner gets to face Adam Cole and MJF tomorrow night on AEW Collision. So we saw like Matt Sydal, we saw Jay Lethal, Satnam Sin. We had Matt and Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy ended up returning here. We had Brother Zay, Isaiah Cassidy, the Moaner, We had Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. We had Big Bill, Brian Cage, and the Butcher and the Blade. So the winners of the match, I'm not going to go into full detail about, the Battle Royal, but, it came down to, Big Bill and Brian Cage and also the Butcher. So we had Big Bill deliver a big boot to the Butcher, and we had Brian Cage deliver a chokeslam to the Butcher. So the winners are Big Bill and Brian Cage. So they will get to face Adam Cole and MJF tomorrow night on AEW Collision. But I'm like, didn't Adam Cole and MJF already beat Brian Cage and Big Bill? I think it was 2 weeks ago. So why are they doing it again? Is Tony Khan having Vince McMahon situs? Yeah, so once again, we got a rematch. Big Bill and Brian Cage versus Adam Cole and MJF. Overall, it was a battle royal. It was meh, in my opinion. And then we went to Komander versus Kip Sabian. We had the match start off with Kip Sabian deliver a shoulder block to Komander, and then he delivered an arm drag. Kip Sabian ended up getting sent out to the floor, which Kip Sabian was accompanied by Penelope Ford. Komander ended up coming over the top rope with a top con hilo that landed perfectly on Kip Sabian. Komander ended up going up to the top. He delivered a double stomp to Kip Sabian's back. Sabian ended up sending Komander into the guardrail, and he then delivered a springboard missile dropkick to Komander, which was back in the ring. So Kip Sabian then delivered a hammer throw into the corner to Komander. Komander ended up taking the turnbuckle sternum first. So we had Komander and Kip Sabian going back and forth. We had Komander deliver a back heel kick to Kip Sabian. He ended up going for the cover. Kip Sabian ended up kicking out too. Komander was looking to go for an arm drag into a shoulder lock to Kip Sabian. He ended up transitioning that into a cradle, and Kip Sabian ended up kicking out. So Komander delivered a flying forearm to Kip Sabian. He ended up dropping Kip Sabian throw first over the top rope. So Komander did his rope walk shooting star press, that awesome shooting star press, and Kip Sabian moved out of the way. Kip Sabian ended up hitting a pump kick. So Kip Sabian delivered a pump kick off the apron to Komander. And we had, at the end of the match, we had Komander doing his rope walk shooting star press onto Kip Sabian. And he ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Komander ended up winning the match. Overall, I thought this was a decent match here. And now we had the Kingdom. This was Mike Taven and Mike Bennett. No Maria Kanellis here. So this was just a squash match. It was against Hayden Backlund and Myung Jae Lee. Kingdom ended up winning. So moving on. Main event. Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose. And this was a solid match here. Of course, Nyla Rose was accompanied by Marina Shafir. Match ended up starting with Nyla Rose ended up attacking Shida before the bell. And Nyla ended up charging at Hikaru Shida. And Shida then delivered a drop kick and a boot to Nyla Rose. Shida then ducked a clothesline from Rose. Rose ended up dumping Shida to the outside. She picked up Shida and slinked her into the guardrail. She ended up rolling Shida back inside the ring. She ended up going for the cover, to which Shida kicked out. Rose then locked in a single leg crab as Rampage ended up going to the commercial. Then as Rampage came back from the commercial, Shida started fighting back with some elbows to Rose. And she was looking to go for the Falcon Arrow. But Shida then delivered an axe kick to Nyla Rose. Shida then delivered a big elbow to Rose and then delivered a suplex. Shida ended up going for the cover and Rose ended up kicking out. Shida then delivered a missile drop kick off the apron to Nyla Rose. She ended up rolling Nyla Rose in and she ended up going for the cover and Rose ended up kicking out. So we had Hikaru Shida on the top rope. Nyla Rose ended up catching Shida and she chokeslammed her. She ended up going for the cover and we had Hikaru Shida end up kicking out. So Nyla Rose delivered the Beast Bomb to Hikaru Shida, which got countered into a Hurricanrana from Hikaru Shida. So Hikaru Shida ended up going for the cover. Nyla Rose kicked out. Shida then delivered the Falcon Arrow to Nyla Rose. She went for the cover again, and Nyla Rose ended up kicking out. So we had later on, Nyla Rose ended up going up to the top. Shida ended up catching Nyla Rose and delivered some headbutts and then an avalanche Falcon Arrow to Nyla Rose. So Hikaru Shida ended up going for the cover and Maria Shafir got involved and she put Nyla Rose's foot on the bottom rope. So Shafir got on the apron with the kendo stick. Shida took the kendo stick from Shafir and she ended up hitting Maria Shafir with the kendo stick. Nyla Rose ended up attacking from behind and she was looking to go for the Beast Bomb, but Hikaru Shida ended up countering that with the katana. So Hikaru Shida ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Hikaru Shida ended up winning the match. Overall, solid women's match this was, but a very meh Rampage it was tonight. Just, we had a terrible Smackdown and a very mid Rampage. Not a good night of wrestling tonight. But overall, that's it for my review of Smackdown and AEW Rampage. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll possibly see you all tomorrow for AEW Collision. It's been a while since I did a review of AEW Collision. Just been, busy, on Saturdays. But hopefully I'll get a chance to get out a AEW Collision review for you guys tomorrow. Anyways, I'll see you all later.